What is up, guys? Mauna here from MauGT, back again with another video, and I think I've got a pretty interesting one for you guys. You see this? I've been using this as my main computer for about a month. Let me explain. Alright, so for a few years, this was my main computer. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad E455. It was a hand-me-down from my sister when she went off to college, and this is what I have been using for the past few years. And recently, the computer started to give me a lot of problems. It was really slow. It couldn't run programs efficiently, and especially with school being completely online now, I needed to use it for things like Google Meet and Google Docs and stuff like that simultaneously. And particularly with Google Meet, the computer would struggle quite a bit. And so I knew it was time for an upgrade. The problem is I couldn't get a brand new computer right away. I needed to do some research into what I needed, and it was just a little bit out of budget at the time. And so I needed something to get me by until then. That's where this came in. This is a Raspberry Pi 4, the latest generation of the Raspberry Pi, which, if you're not familiar with it, it is a small board computer, SBC, that uses an ARM processor, and most people use it for small projects and things like that. But in this case, I was able to use it for my main computer. I had previously purchased this as an in-car stereo system project, but figured I could repurpose it to use for my main computer. This particular Raspberry Pi is spec'd out with 4 gigs of RAM. It's the mid-tier Raspberry Pi model, sits between the 2 gig RAM model and the 8 gig RAM model. This was the one that, like I said, I purchased for a project, but wanted to repurpose it for my main computer. And so I guess I kind of wanted to show you guys how I did that and what the experience was like. Now, to be able to make this setup work, I needed to make sure I had a few key things first. First, I needed to make sure I had a good mouse and keyboard setup. I had this old Logitech K270 mouse and keyboard combo, so I was able to use that. I also needed to make sure I had a good audio setup, so I grabbed this Logitech USB webcam with a built-in microphone, and for audio out, I bought this cheap headphone amp off of Amazon, connected it to the Pi's 3.5mm jack, and connected the amp back to my monitor's built-in speakers. Lastly, I needed a way to tie everything together, so I grabbed Barrier, this GitHub program that I found, and installed it on both my laptop and the Raspberry Pi. All links to the stuff I used will be in the description below. Now again, keep in mind that the whole reason for creating this setup was to improve performance. And so one might think that if you're spending $35 on a computer, there's no way it's going to perform better than a full-blown laptop. And I'll admit, I was a little bit skeptical too. But I had seen the numerous performance claims about the Raspberry Pi 4 and figured, since I have one, I might as well give it a shot. But even if you ignore all of the performance claims that people have been making about the Raspberry Pi 4, just a quick look at the website and its spec sheet do make the Pi seem pretty impressive. It's packing a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core ARM processor, and the Raspberry Pi Foundation claims that it can power 2 4K displays at up to 60 frames per second. Now, I don't have any 4K displays, let alone 2 of them, but I can say for the display that I was using, it's just a normal 1440 by 900 monitor. For the display that I was using, it performed pretty well. The main issue that I had with my computer's performance was performance within Google Meet. And I'm pleased to report that the Raspberry Pi actually ran Google Meet a lot better than I had expected it to. The Logitech webcam that I used was supported as soon as I plugged it in, and the microphone within it also worked well. However, the microphone did stop working about a week before I got my new computer. When it came time to actually get some work done, performance in applications like Google Docs and Google Slides was a lot better than what I was experiencing on my actual computer. Typing in Google Docs was really smooth and seamless, and designing slides in Google Slides was really easy to do and very fast. The only time I noticed a performance decrease was after I had just booted up the Raspberry Pi. Speaking of my laptop, I did still have to keep it around for a few things. I'm part of a cybersecurity club at my school, and we run a virtual machine And within that virtual machine environment, that's where we do all of our projects and competitions and things like that. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the VM up and running on the Raspberry Pi, so I had to resort to my laptop. Another thing that was really important for me to keep my laptop around for was Barrier. Barrier is what I used to tie together this entire setup. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I found Barrier on GitHub. Barrier is an open source, cross-platform program that allows you to share your mouse and keyboard across different computers. It supports all of these different platforms and Linux distributions, and also supports some pretty cool features like being able to copy and paste text between different computers. To set up Barrier, I configured it as a server on my laptop and plugged in my Logitech keyboard and mouse combo. And to set things up on my Raspberry Pi, I installed Barrier, configured it as a client, and put some commands in the profile file on my Pi so that Barrier would start up automatically every time I booted up the Pi. So Barrier is a pretty cool tool, and it being not only free but open source and cross-platform are two pretty big pluses that make it a great alternative to paid programs like Synergy. So what did I learn from using a $55 computer as my main computer for about a month? Well, it's really not as bad as you might think. You know, you hear the price tag, you take a look at it, something this small, and you think to yourself, there's no way that something this small and this cheap could perform so well. But in many different things, many different programs, applications, and workflows, this $55 computer outperformed my laptop. And yes, it was a pretty old laptop, but it should still be able to keep up with those things, and it simply couldn't, and the Pi got the job done. While I do have my new computer now, if I had to go back to using this Raspberry Pi, say if my computer needed to go in for repairs or something, I don't think I would mind it that much. The performance really wasn't that bad, and aside from a few platform shortcomings like not being able to efficiently run a virtual machine, it's honestly not that bad for anyone who just needs a basic desktop computer. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I kind of branched out, tried some different filming styles. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you would want me to do a dedicated video on Barrier and exactly how to set it up and exactly how it works. I'd be happy to do that for you guys. Make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss my next video. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram in the links in the description below. I hope you guys have a great day. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.